Good day, sir. My name is Julina Iduyog of BSO Ad 3C. I will be discussing only the very important revision under this topic. To start with, let's have the loss of the things due, a mode of extinguishment of obligation. So, loss of the things due. When is a thing considered lost? Under the law, it is understandable that a thing is a loss when it perishes or goes out of the commerce or disappears in such a way that its existence is unknown or it cannot be recovered. It is provided in the Article 1189. When we say lost, it does not mean that a thing physically existent is known. It can be also considered lost when the thing goes out of commerce, meaning to say thing can no longer the subject or the valid object of the commercial transactions, and therefore that particular thing, although did not lost physically, but since it cannot be led to the proper object of a valid transactions, then it is considered lost under the law. So, in the article of 1262, an obligation which consists in the delivery of a determinate thing shall be extinguished. It should be lost or destroyed without the fault of the debtor, and before he has endured in delay. So, the requisites. The obligation is to deliver a specific or determinate thing. When we say the word specific or determinate thing, means that the thing can be physically segregated or particularly identify all others from the same class. Same for example, in Toyota Vios, car colored with has a plate number 1234 is considered as a specific or determinate thing because you can be physically segregated and a particular identify all others from the same class because of its plate number. The second is the loss of the things occurs without the fault of the debtor. So, because of the things was lost because of the fault of the debtor, then that particular loss will not extinguish the obligation. So the debtor should not be at fault when the thing is lost. And the last is the debtor is not guilty of delay. Meaning to say, the thing was lost when it is not yet due to the deliverer. So if the debtor is already guilty, so the loss of the things will be extinguished the obligation. So, when by the law or the stipulations the obligor is liable if the fortuitous events, the loss of thing does not extinguish the obligation and he shall be responsible for damages. The same rule applies when the natures of the obligation requires the assumption of rest. So, meaning to say, a specific or a determinate of a thing that the obligation is extinguished, except when the privations of law or by contract relations, and then when the natures of obligations requires for the assumption of rest, the obligor will be liable. So, there's a general rule under the loss of the things due. So the general rule is the loss of the specific thing without fault of the debtor and without delay will extinguish the obligation. So if there's no fault of the debtor, there's no delay at the thing of the obligation is a specific thing or determinate thing. If this were gone, meaning to say it is extinguished by the obligation. But there are exceptions in general rule, meaning if the thing is a specific or determinate thing, and even if the thing was lost of the fault of the debtor, and without delay, still the debtor passed the obligation, or still the debtor is liable under the following exception. So the first exception is when the law so provides. So if the losses, even the things are losses without the fault of the debtor and without delay, they are still liable. So we do everything about it, the losses that are still liable. So the next is when the stipulation so provides. It means that if the parties agrees that if the specific thing was lost without the fault of the debtor and without delay the debtor is liable, so that its agreement that then will be prevailed. So the third one is when the natures of the obligation requires the assumptions of rest. So then you look at the nature of the obligation in order to determine if the debtor was held liable even if the things or the specific thing is in the loss without his fault and without of delay. And the last one is when the obligations to deliver specific thing arises from a crime. So even if the loss of the specific thing was not due to the fault of the debtor and it was not accumulated to delay, if that specific thing came from a crime, then the law says that you are still liable. And thank you so much. That's it. It's all about the loss of the thing. Thank you. Keep safe.